Hi, this is Joy Robertson. As many of you know, I love food. I love finding new restaurants. I love trying new dishes. And most of all, I love talking to the many great restaurateurs and entrepreneurs we have here in the Ozarks and beyond. I love hearing their stories, and that's what this podcast is all about, learning more about them and their journey. So join me as we savor the Ozarks. This episode is brought to you by Arctic Food Equipment. Okay, barbecue lovers in the Show Me State, I know you're familiar with Show Me barbecue sauce. They have a presence here at National Restaurant Show in Chicago and have for the last several years. Enrique Fuhlage is the owner, and this company is based out of, I want to say Columbia, Missouri, but Rocheport, Missouri. Enrique, it's good to see you again. Let's tell our audience a little bit about the history of this company.
Thank you, Joy. So we're celebrating 50 years this year, and we've been based in Central Missouri the whole time. Our sauces have no preservatives, no high fructose corn syrup, and are shelf stable. So they will last as long as you keep them around. You never have to refrigerate it.
Okay, it's funny you should say that because years ago when I was in graduate school at Mizzou, I had to do an assignment for KBIA Radio, which is the campus, the university-owned public radio station. And I chose to do a feature on the professor who was he a veterinarian also, who came up with this recipe. And I remember distinctly him telling me that it is shelf-stable, and if you set this thing down, you could come back 100 years from now, and it'll be just fine. So he wasn't kidding.
No, he wasn't. We still have bottles from before I was born, back when he first started back in the 70s and 80s, that we keep just to monitor how they do. And they'll age a little bit over time, but they're still perfectly delicious.
Remind me the founder's name.
Dr. Harry Barrier.
Okay, Dr. Barrier. I'd give anything to be able to find that interview that I did with him, but you worked at some point with Dr. Barrier as a young person with Show Me barbecue sauce, correct?
Yeah, I started working there at 14 years old. They were our next door neighbors, so I would go over next door, down into the basement where everything happened, help package products early on, then started making it, and as the years went on, did more and more, and eventually as they passed on, our family took over.
When you were little, did it ever occur to you might one day own the company?
It was a fleeting dream at one point, like, man, that'd be really cool. And, as time went on, it became more and more a possibility. And we were fortunate that they trusted us to carry on their legacy.
Speaking of that legacy, this company has grown over the years. And I wonder what Dr. Barrier would think today if he could see the reach of this company. I was on your website, and it runs in my mind that you can find Show Me barbecue sauce in all 50 states and several countries, correct?
That's right. We ship it to individuals across the nation. A lot of that's just word of mouth. Students of his at Mizzou would try it while they were in school, and then they move away and order it, and then share it with their families and friends, and it just grew from there.
Tell me about the flavors, because it runs in my mind back in the day when I was in grad school, which I won't even mention the year. It was a very, very, very long time ago. There was one flavor. There was one original Show Me barbecue sauce. What have you branched out into flavor-wise?
Yeah, so we started with the classic, which he first made back in the 60s. And now we have two other sauces, Some Heat, which has a little Tabasco blend in it, gives it a nice little bite. And then a habanero, which has a little bit more of that distinct habanero flavor and burn.
Okay, so you branched out into the flavors. And it's the pH level of it, right, that makes it so shelf stable, and all the products are that way.
Yeah, all of our sauces have a pH below 3.6, so the acidity and the fact that there's no water, no fillers, the salt and sugar content gives it a really low water activity, so it is indefinite. It'll last forever.
Tell me what you're serving up at the National Restaurant Show with the sauces.
So today we've got some beef sausage covered in our classic sauce, and then we also have the Some Heat and habanero available as well.
What are some of the other dishes you've brought to the show?
Pulled pork is a classic, but this year we're staying in a hotel, and crock-pot pulled pork just isn't the same if it's not smoked. So we opted for something that will still be true to the Missouri barbecue, but limited to what we have available.
Well, you do have to pivot when you're at a show like this because you've got to find somewhere to stay. You've got to tote the product. You've got to do what you need to do. You also have, I see some dry seasonings on the table. Tell me a little bit about, here's a Caribbean. I didn't know about that one. Tell me about your seasonings.
Yeah, so after we added the Some Heat variety, we branched into seasonings and developed the barbecue rub, an all-purpose heat seasoning, which is like a spicy seasoned salt, as well as the Caribbean there, which is our take on a Jamaican jerk, but it's a lot lighter. It doesn't have allspice in it, so it's going to be more fragrant and good on chicken, fish, poultry.
So you still produce all of this in and around the Rocheport area. Do you have I'm sure you've expanded. This guy started it in his house, for crying out loud, his garage, as I recall it. I mean, do you still do some work in the original spot, or do you have an off-site location, or what?
So when they passed away, the house was sold, and so we started renting a facility just outside of Rocheport. A little bit more square footage. We went from the 800 square foot basement to about 1,200 square feet, and then we expanded that, and now we have about 5,000 square feet of warehouse manufacturing.
And this is a full-time job for you, getting all of this product made, bottled, shipped. You gotta love it.
Yeah, we do. It's a whole family business, and we're all involved in it. It's definitely full-time. We manufacture everything in-house, and we've been adding pieces here and there of equipment to increase our capacity over the years. We started with just a pump and a mixer, and everything was done by hand. The only piece of technology outside of that was an answering machine when we acquired the business, so we've definitely modernized, added the website, computers, and all the bottling equipment.
Do you supply to food service as well?
Yes, we ship to several restaurants across the country. We're available through a couple distributors in the Midwest, and then we ship to individuals, stores all over the country as well.
Speaking of individuals, on your website, there are letters you've received from fans over the years who have said, thank you for continuing to make the Show Me barbecue sauce. Do you still get those letters, and how do you feel when you read those testimonials?
Yeah, it's great. The support has been amazing from everybody that was concerned that after they passed away that the business would just kind of disappear. So seeing the response that everybody's really happy about it is fantastic. And we've got a library full of letters like that.
Any new products in the hopper coming up?
Yes, we've got a couple ideas for seasonings. The next sauce we're going to do is going to be a Show Me the Honey. So we're going to add some honey to it. We went spicy at first, now we're going to go a little sweeter.
Okay, so you do have some things planned for the future, which is always a good thing. What has the reaction been here at the Chicago Food Show?
It's been great. We have a really unique product, and the response has been fantastic. We've got a lot of interest from restaurants and distributors alike.
And part of the reason you're here is because the Missouri Department of Agriculture encourages, we're in a section called Taste of the States. And like I look over here and I see there's Colorado, Minnesota, New Mexico, Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, lots of cherries over in the Michigan one. Georgia's way back in the corner. It has to be fun to be here and meet with all the other, mostly smaller purveyors of products. But, a big shout out to the Missouri Department of Agriculture that does encourage people like you to be here to show your products to the world, right?
Yeah, they're fantastic. They actually sponsor all the booths for everyone from Missouri, and it's a great way for small businesses like us to get involved into something that is rather expensive for small businesses. So big shout out to the Missouri Department of Ag. They've been huge advocates for Missouri business, and they support us all around.
Well, that is amazing. And I know I've found your product in Springfield, the Springfield area, Springfield, Nix, Ozark area, I believe in Harder House. Anywhere else in our area, Southwest Missouri, you can think of off the top of your head?
So Harder House is the main one. We're working with Hy-Vee to get in their 2 locations there in Springfield. And Kroger has a few locations down in that area as well we're working with.
Good stuff. Well, it is good stuff. It is delicious. I remember when I said I found it at grad school, and I get my hands on it every chance I can. Enrique Fuhlage, Show Me barbecue sauce out of Rocheport, Missouri. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Joy.
Step into Arctic Food Equipment, where the spirit of American hospitality meets unmatched quality. Our Springfield showroom is open to the public and stocked with everything you need to outfit your kitchen. For over 25 years, we've been proud to serve our community with products built to last and a commitment rooted in American values. Come visit our showroom today and discover why kitchens across America trust Arctic Food Equipment. The tools you trust, the partner you deserve.
You never know who you're going to run into at the National Restaurant Show. I told you about the Taste of the States, where pretty much all of the states are represented with some food that comes from that part of our country. And of course, I had to check out Arkansas, being from Russellville. And I wander up to a place called Natural State Rabbit. And I had a friend of mine say, Joy, that's Joy Robertson. And it was my friend Tiffany Jeter, who I worked with at Noble and Associates in Springfield, which was great to see her. And of course, David Jeter is I'm going to talk to as well, because you are the chef consultant for this company. Yes, we're going to start, however, with the woman in charge, Lynn Robertson, no relation, from Natural State Rabbit out of Rogers, Arkansas, God's country down there, northwest Arkansas. All right, Lynn, give me the history of this company. It wasn't always under the name Natural State Rabbit. It's been around a minute.
It has been. So they started in 1911, and we've actually been in this location since the 60s. And we are going through a rebrand for this Natural State Rabbit to really bring people and let them understand what we are. We're super excited. We have our own family, our own farm, but we also utilize Amish growers. We're a USDA inspected facility. It's all natural, no antibiotics ever, veg fed, raised locally. And we process our own rabbits. And I would say what makes us very unique is that we can ship refrigerated or frozen, and everybody else only does frozen. And we have a big history with rabbit, and we love it, and we want others to love it as well. I actually had only eaten rabbit twice before I joined the company, but it was very memorable both times. I remember the restaurants that I ate it at, because you don't see rabbit very often on the menus. Since then, I have cooked it several times for my own family, and my children absolutely love it. So if I utilize chicken sometimes, they say, Mom, this would have been better with rabbit.
Okay, and again, the company started, when was it again, you said?
It started in 1911 in California, just like a backyard. They were growing some rabbits, and then they started supplying to local restaurants and other families. And then they just kept expanding and expanding to where now we're in Rogers. We have our own farm. We've done a lot of work on the husbandry side to raise nice, healthy rabbits that are sustainable in their growth, and almost model more off the European model, because in Europe, rabbit is consumed more in some parts than poultry per person. So it's really big in Italy, France, Germany, Spain, Hungary. And so it's because it's such a sustainable animal to raise for meat, and it's higher in protein and lower in fat than poultry.
I talk about my friend from Russellville named Robert Ford, and when Robert visited Springfield, we have a wonderful restaurant called Cafe Cusco, a Peruvian restaurant, and you guys need to get in touch with them, because he said, they're big into rabbit, and I never paid any attention to it, but on their menu there's a rabbit dish. And so remind me, if you don't mind, for years this company had another name that some of our listeners may recognize. What was it called before?
So it was Pelfrey's. It was under the brand Pelfrey's for the Pelfrey family that started this brand. And then this is so long ago that they were one of the first companies to ship a train car of frozen meat across the country. And so that's what they added freeze to the end of it, because frozen meat was such a novelty. That's how long they've been around. So
that had to be difficult back in the day to do that. All right, Chef David, I'm going to turn to you, and I want to hear about, what is it about rabbit? I will say, when I tried what you cooked, it was unbelievably good. You would never know it was rabbit. You would probably think maybe it was chicken or something. Has the same sort of appearance. What is it about rabbit?
Okay, so I think a lot of people understand rabbit to be gamey. It's wild game that's hunted. I grew up hunting rabbit, right? And I absolutely love it from what I remember preparing it when I was a kid, my grandmother preparing it. The difference is a farm-raised rabbit has a much more neutral flavor profile. It's very tender when cooked correctly. A lot of people like to bury it in stews and like things that have a lot of liquid, braised. But what we did was we kind of changed it up a little bit. We used the hindquarters, right, and we deboned them, and so it's beautiful white meat. And all I did was I simply seasoned it, thyme, salt, pepper, olive oil. Threw it onto a flat top and seared it, threw it in a bag, and I did some butter in that. So it was like a confit sous vide for about, it was 3 hours at 145 degrees, and it comes out perfectly tender and very neutral flavor profile. We cut it up here, and we've put it into probably 8 different dishes. We've been using some of the other folks from Arkansas, some of their products. We've been pairing it with Della rice. We've been pairing it with fire and smoke seasonings and barbecue sauces. I made a korma the other morning. So it's just really versatile is the beauty of it. So yes, you can harken back and do those traditional dishes of stews and that, but you can also do some other things that are not as upscale, like the rolled loins with prosciutto and, everything that's so finite. You can have something that I can make a taco out of this meat simply by seasoning it differently. And Natural State processes this so that you can have all these different cuts. So you're not stuck with just having to have a whole rabbit or having bone-in legs. They have trim available. They have, loins. They have forequarters. I mean, they have everything you can imagine.
Where did you grow up?
Southern Illinois.
All right, so you said you grew up hunting rabbit.
Yes.
Interesting. So what did you do? How did you prepare the rabbit? You said, I think your mother, your grandmother, maybe?
So
okay, tell me about it.
So we would hunt, a lot of times we would hunt before school, and so it'd be like on a Thursday, we would take it, we would clean it right before we went to school, gave it to grandma or mom. They would soak it in vinegar overnight because you wanted to take out as much of that game taste as you possibly could and, tenderize it. Then Friday, they would put it in buttermilk overnight, and then we'd have it Saturday morning, chicken fried rabbit and brown gravy.
Okay, you're making me think of my growing up in Arkansas when we would have quail on Christmas morning. Absolutely. I mean, we had quail, we had squirrel, we had all squirrel. Yeah, it was interesting to watch Dad cook that one. But the quail, you'd have to be careful with a little shot. Every now and again, you'd bite down on a piece of that shot,
Absolutely.
But I remember him breading that and frying it on Christmas morning, and quail was the thing. But, okay, so when you had the opportunity, how did you guys get together? How did you come by the company?
Actually, Lynn and I used to work at Tyson together.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was corporate chef at Tyson for quite a few years, and Lynn and I think it was the same year we started down at Tyson, and ultimately just built a friendship. She's actually best friends with my wife, and my daughter did like some nannying for her kids, and so she had Natural State had never been at the NRA show, so she said Jeter knew that I had done this, and I was like, yeah, that'd be fun, and it's a protein that I love. I love preparing rabbit. So I was like, yeah, let's jump in. Let's do something fun. Let's giddy up.
I don't know the last time I had rabbit until I ran into you guys, which it makes me so proud that you're, from the Natural State. I just think that's great. Where can I get this product?
Great question. So we actually just set up a website, and so we can direct ship to consumers, so anybody can order rabbit. So you can buy one rabbit, you can buy a case of rabbits, or a pallet. But if you go to nsrabbitmeat.com, that takes you to our website. And also in there's contact me, the info at nsrabbitmeat.com. That goes to my inbox as well. So happy to answer any questions. But yeah, we can ship out a rabbit to your door tomorrow.
What has been the reaction of the people here at the National Restaurant Show?
They have loved it. So there's so many people that have come up that have either they haven't had rabbit since they were kids, or they've never had rabbit before. And one of the great things about this protein, I told you it was memorable. One of the great things is that if I was standing here selling chicken and I asked, have you ever had chicken before? You'd look at me like I was crazy. But so many people have never tried rabbit, and then they get excited about being able to try something new. So it's been really positive, and it's been a great experience.
Well, I know you're glad you showed up this year. My buddies that I also talked to from Show Me Barbecue Sauce in Missouri, you might see what they've got to cook with over there. I saw them just a minute ago, and I said, hey, I'm on my way to talk to like I said, I keep wanting to call you the rabbit people. I'm on my way to talk to the Arkansas rabbit people, and they were like, what? And I said, listen, you run on back there and see what Chef David's got going on in the world of rabbit. It will change you. I mean, people have to love this. It's amazing.
Yes, and people have it. I had one gentleman yesterday that he'd had rabbit before, but it was not a good experience. And I was like, well, try this. Try what Chef Jeter did. And he loved it. Yeah. So he's like, all right, I'm going to order some. And we also had a lady that she had never been brave enough to try rabbit, and she tried it, and she actually had us film her to send to her family to show that she did it. And she loved it as well. She came back the next day for another helping. So,
well, people have different tastes. Some people just don't like fish in any manner. They don't like lamb. There's something about it they don't want. And I don't ever remember having rabbit that had any unusual taste to it. Would you say, David, that when you get the rabbit from natural state, you wouldn't need to soak it and take the gaminess out of it, would you, or would you?
Absolutely not. No, absolutely not. Like I said, when I got the rabbit, all I did was simply season salt, pepper, olive oil, garlic, thyme. That was it.
Okay, I remember you said that at the beginning, but I thought, well, I don't know. Maybe you can order different cuts, different kinds, maybe different. Now, there's dark meat here, I guess, too. Is there... What parts of the rabbit? I don't know. I don't know anything about rabbits. What part do you eat? You say the hindquarters, but what else?
So you can eat the whole rabbit. I mean, so we sell the rabbit whole that you can cut it up, and that's what I've done is I cut up my own rabbit, and then I seared it, and then did a braised garlic wine sauce, and then hit it with a little bit of cream at the end, and served it over noodles, and it is amazing. So you can use every bit of the rabbit, including the giblets that are part of the whole rabbit. You can use that in a rigatoni or in like a pate. There's all kinds of options and different applications.
And you can still fry them just like you do with some of the chicken gizzards and things like that. Right. Absolutely.
Do they have the same kind of taste and chewiness?
Not as chewy. Interestingly enough, yeah, they're a little bit more tender. But the coolest thing that I've noticed is the restaurateurs and chefs that have come through that have been inspired to see how to want to try to use rabbit in a different way than what they've traditionally used it. They're so used to that classical French technique of doing something or Spanish technique, always stewed, and this shows them that there's some true versatility to it.
I think when I was here yesterday, you had some kind of an Asian flavor going on, which, by the way, I went to the press breakfast this year, and Asian flavors, again, is one of the top trends. Yeah. The flavors are just so good. What was it you had going on with it yesterday?
It was an orange ginger glaze, just some basic Szechuan, pepper in there for a little bit of that sting. But it was the rabbit. Just sauteed it real quick with some olive oil, threw the glaze on it, and then we had a coconut scented white quinoa with it, and some fried garlic and black and white sesame.
Holy buckets, you're good. You're really good. Affordability-wise, how does it compare?
So it is a premium protein, and it's because if you think of the commercial farming for poultry, they can raise a lot more chickens, and they have that kind of operation in place where we're a smaller company, so it is more expensive, but with averages around $6-7 a pound for a whole rabbit, plus just depends.
So that's the wholesale price. What about the consumer who goes to the web and wants the rabbit?
So on our website, it actually is about $11 a pound. But if you look in Google rabbit, other retailers, it's about $20 a pound.
Good to know. I mean, people wouldn't bat an eye at paying for steak, something along those lines, price-wise. So treat yourself to some rabbit. Now, can we find this in stores?
So there is some available at H-E-B, and then we do some private label for some folks on the East Coast and that, but otherwise just grab it direct.
Remind me the website again.
nsrabbitmeat.com.
So how many farms raise these rabbits?
So I want to say that we have 150 growers that we utilize.
150? I am shocked at that. I don't know why. I just never thought about it. That's incredible.
Well, they're all small family farms, so they might have about 200 rabbits per farm. So we have to have a lot of growers to feed into our brand and our process.
Just for fun, you look around at this show, which I think they told me is like 11 football fields full of food, which is why I show up, frankly. Yes. That's my jam. How tricky is it to get yourselves here, get your hotel, get your setup, get the meat cooked when you've got a meat product, and they're everywhere. It's all over this show, but it's got to be several days in advance of pretty strategic planning. This is the peek behind the curtain. What's that like for you?
So I will tell you that this is my first time that I've done a show where I did not show up as a show princess, where I just came in. And because I was so used to working with Chef Jeter or other chefs where they did everything in advance and I just showed up to talk to customers or to walk the show. There is a lot that goes into it. I mean, we talked for months in advance, and just every single thing has to be thought of, like being able to cook it safely and how do you get everything here. So things were shipped in on pallets. Chef Jeter had prepared all the meat and all the ingredients ahead of time, so everything was just grab and go. And Tiffany was also extremely instrumental in helping to make sure everything was done appropriately. But you have to have all of your electric ordered. You have to have what tables you need. I mean, everything is a process, and you have to have you got to have a spreadsheet and check the boxes in order to make sure you don't miss anything.
I am so impressed with all you do, and I can't tell you how it just lit me up yesterday when I heard Tiffany call my name. I was like, oh my gosh, what are the odds, you know? But thank you so much, consulting chef David Jeter and Lynn Robertson, no relation from, well, you know we're probably kinfolk. Somewhere down the road we're bound to be kinfolk, of Natural State Rabbit. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joy. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Joy.
Be sure to go to AroundTheOzarks.com to sign up for our daily newsletter, where you can get every episode of Savor the Ozarks, plus all our other podcasts, events, and contests straight to your inbox. And what are your favorite dishes in the 417? Do you have any restaurants you'd like me to visit? Email me at joy@AroundTheOzarks.com.